wrestling fans. Not sports entertainment fans. Professional wrestling fans. Professional wrestling. This is it. This is us standing up. This is
the Wrestling Matters Podcast, a podcast that stands up for professional wrestling. Why? Because wrestling matters. So join the revolution, because the revolution is now.
Well, enough is enough, and it's time for a change.
professional wrestling. This is it. This is us standing up.
Yes, 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 yes.
That's 13-14.
Dina, I am the best in the world.
Cause that's the bottom line. Cause Stone Cold said so.
Yo, ladies and gentlemen, it's that HEAD here with you for YouTube and SoundCloud. It's me, it's back for that Wrestling Matters podcast, baby. Episode 82, hope you are all well, hope you've enjoyed everything this week in the world of professional wrestling. I've had a little bit of a stressful week. People wasting my time and certain organizations wasting my time, even though they arranged to have an appointment with me, for something, which is completely off track. But they decided to cancel it because they overran and wasted my time. Well, I'll tell you this right now, if that happens again, the appointment's been rearranged, and if it happens again, ho baby, there's gonna be hell on. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, enough about all the bullshit and all the negativity. Let's get into some positivity, and this is the Wrestling Matters Podcast, episode 82. On today's show, ladies and gents, we're gonna talk Raw. We're going to talk Smackdown. We're going to talk NXT. We're going to talk a very explosive Ring of Honor this week. I've had a little bit of a hint with it. It is a very explosive Ring of Honor, and I'll be reviewing that later on in the show, as well as Impact Wrestling and much, much more in the world of professional wrestling as well. And plus, part 2 of Wrestling Zone with WrestleZone or Wrestling Zone, I forgot what they called it, with Michael Larkin of the S&M podcast. More part 2 of that will be later on in the podcast. Now, I want to start off with a few quick things, ladies and gentlemen. A few quick promotions. Get them out of the way. Wrestling Matters channel, AJW Wrestling Matters on YouTube. Check it out for the next month, starting in November. It's going to be Fear and Loathing month. That's right, ICW Fear and Loathing. It takes place November 15th. Completely sold out. I believe there's tickets left on Ticketmaster, I believe, from what I've got anyway. I don't know. If not, it's completely sold out anyway. That's what I definitely know about it. It is headlined by Jack Jester. No, it's not. Actually, I stand corrected. It is headlined by hashtag Drew versus Grado. That's right. Drew Galloway one-on-one with Grado for the ICW World Heavyweight Championship. Jack Jester is involved. He goes one-on-one with Damo. NAK hook up in a cage, a 6-man war in a cage against the Legion, which is Michael Dante, Tommy End, and Mikey Whiplash. And plus WWE Hall of Famer and legend and 3-time WWE champion in his own right, the hardcore legend Mick Foley will be your commissioner for the evening, and it should be a dandy. I can't wait to see it, and it takes place November 15th in Glasgow at the SCC Arena, which is, like I said, completely sold out. Also, ladies and gentlemen, I will be doing it on the AJW Wrestling Matters, the Wrestling Matters channel. I will be doing a weekly review of 3 previous Fear and Loathing shows. Fear and Loathing 5, which involves Grado versus Mikey Whiplash, and it involves Skittles. The 2013 Fear and Loathing show, where Jack Jester becomes World Heavyweight Champion, or ICW Champion as it was known back then. And then the 2014, last year's in fact, where Drew Galloway made his triumphant return at Shook's house party, culminates with him winning the World Championship in the 2014 Fear and Loathing as well. Basically, 2014 in ICW was Drew Galloway's year, believe that. And I'll be reviewing them three, and then after that, I'll review the 2000. I might even do that early, I don't know. But I will review the 2015 Fear and Loathing. If I could do that before the 2014 one, I will do it, but guarantee, no matter what, Fear and Loathing month on the Wrestling Matters channel, be sure to check that out. And it starts with Fear and Loathing 5. I'll get the old one out the way, the very classic one out the way. Like I say, it involves Grado versus Mikey Whiplash, which match involves Skittles. Yeah. You heard me correct, ladies and gentlemen. It involves Skittles. Now, ladies and gentlemen, also, please check out, I know this has got nothing to do with the wrestling or anything, but please, a little quick promotion as well, please check out the Games Matter channel, www.youtube.com/Games Matter channel. There's a lot of good content, gaming content that I'm going to be doing for that channel as well, involving 2K16 as well, WWE 2K16, which is out this week. In fact, as this is going up on the Monday, it is out this week. In fact, and I've got my order. I am not getting Arnold Schwarzenegger. If I'm going to get Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'd rather wait till January or something when he comes out in DLC, because he's going to come out in DLC anyway at some point, when I don't know. But I mean, why would I want to play as Arnold Schwarzenegger? The only reason they put them in the first place is because he's in the Hall of Fame. That's the only reason they put them in. I mean, it's still mind-boggling. They went with Sting last year, even though Sting's actually in the game this year. And they went with Sting DLC last year, and now they've gone from Sting to Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's like they've dropped down low. You know, it doesn't make any sense. I actually thought Austin was in the DLC, but turns out he wasn't. So he was actually already in the game, which is fair enough. As long as he's in the game, that's all that matters. And there was quite a few people that could have been in the game as well, Hulk Hogan being one of them. But with the racist scandal and everything that's going on with Hogan, and the fact that nobody cares about him no more in WWE, you know, it is what it is at the end of the day. But 2K15 is out this week, so like I say, guys, though, be sure to check that out. There's a lot of great gaming content coming to the Games Matter channel. I've got a series coming up, a tutorial series, going back through how to do, you know, no voices from me, going through how to do with, you know, the Grand Theft Auto 5 series, story mode rather, in first person, because trust me, first person is not an easy thing. And I've got a lot of stuff as well. It's going to be a busy month for me in November as well. It's going to be really a busy month for me in November as far as my websites and my podcast and my Games Matter channel is concerned as well, because like I said, I've got Fear and Loathing, and I've got a lot of stuff to do for the Games Matter channel as well as probably another episode, another appearance on Wrestling Unleashed with Michael Larkin as well. Now, also want to send a shout out to James Belmont. Belmont, if you're listening to this, you better be listening to this, because this is involving you. I want you and your crew this time. If not, we'll just have you on by yourself. I've got no issues with that whatsoever. I want you and I want your crew on from Offshoot Radio at some point. So if you hear this, get back to me. Let's do this. Okay, you've already mentioned that when am I going to come on, when I'm going to come back on the Wrestling Matters podcast. All you got to do is call me. It's there. We'll talk wrestling and have great fun as well as we always do. I've got nothing but love for the Offshoot Radio team. James Belmont, Michael Rodriguez, my somewhat adversary as far as Beat the Clock on Sunday Segway is concerned. That still haunts me to this very day, and I will get my revenge, so help me God. And the gorgeous Rocks as well, the old Rockstar herself as well. All the Offshoot Radio team, if you will. Now, I gotta admit, ladies and gentlemen, I figured out certain things with what's gonna go down. I want to make a quick comment before I go back. I'll mention this later on as well during the Smackdown, but there was a lot this past week of who was going to face John Cena. Now, if you've seen the Hell in a Cell, you will know who faced John Cena. But there was a lot of rumours about Tyler Breeze possibly going for it. But he made his debut on Smackdown, and they've decided to put him with Summer Rae, which is probably fair game in a way. But despite the fact that Summer Rae, unless it's the heels, probably is bigger than him, you know. he's walking around with this girl that's taller than him and everything, but she's gorgeous and she's talented, and in a way they are a perfect fit. And they needed to do something with Tyler because, let's face it, Tyler Breeze is talented, no doubt. Beauty shot, that theme song, King of the Selfies, but he wasn't getting anywhere on NXT anymore. The moment he was trying to get out the picture, or trying to get into the picture, basically he spent more time jobbing for people, i.e. Jushin Liger. They were putting him in big matches, but he was jobbing for people like Jushin Liger and people like that. Many people believed he should have been NXT champion, but maybe he can come up to the big roster now because he made his debut this past week on Smackdown. Will we see him on Raw tonight? Probably. We'll have to wait and see. But I predict big things for Tyler. Hopefully they'll put the US title on him at some point. I'm hoping they don't. Like I say, if you've seen Hell in the Cell, you'll know what happened, and you'll know who put the is the US champion now. But look out for big things for Mr. Tyler Breeze in the future on the main roster. All being well, of course. Like I've said many times, guys, it's all about booking. All about booking. Right. I will end this part here. And after the break, ladies and gentlemen, you will hear the Raw audio and the Hell in the Cell, Raw and the Hell in the Cell audio that I recorded this past week for the Wrestling Matters channel. I will play that, and I'll be back in part 3 with SmackDown and NXT main talking points. And probably more on Tyler Breeze as well. So I'll see you in part 3. Until then, enjoy the Raw and Hell in the Cell Prdeictions audio. I'll be playing it right after this commercial break. So see you in a bit. If you like the Wrestling Matters podcast, why not check out their Facebook page at facebook.com/WM podcast and like the page and show your support to the podcast that stands up for professional wrestling, the Wrestling Matters podcast. Wrestling Matters, wrestling fans. Yeah, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's NHEAD, back with another video. That's right, it's a Raw review. It's Raw time. That's right. Quickly, I hope you enjoyed Raw, by the way, which took place, as I'm doing this right now, yesterday, October 19th. I just want to say as well, before I get started to Raw, this is going to be a Raw review and Hell in the Cell predictions, as you can see on the title. I just want to say as well, guys, thank you so much for your support regarding the Wrestling Matters channel. I am now over 100 likes. I'm 102 likes at the moment. I only got 100 on Saturday, Sunday, as I'm recording this. So thank you so much for your support regarding this. Good, bad, ugly. You guys are taking notice, and I love you for it. Right. Monday Night Raw. Let's get right into it. Let's not waste any time. If I look down, if I don't look at the camera, I'm looking down. It's because I've got it on my laptop here. Where's it here? And let's talk about the main talking points of Raw. Let's kick off with them first. The main talking points of Raw, which was legends. That's what it was all about, right? And we'll kick off Raw with Stone Cold Steve Austin. Now, Stone Cold was there. Because he had a podcast to do with Brock Lesnar. I'll get to that another day. He had a podcast to do with Lesnar, and he thought he'd pop out and say hello. So he came to the ring, raised hell, said hi to the Dallas peeps, and then introduced The Undertaker. That's right, Undertaker comes out, cuts a promo on Brock Lesnar, talks about their upcoming match this Sunday at Hell in the Cell. Their final encounter, as it's been dubbed, and gets interrupted by Brock Lesnar. And then Paul Heyman says his piece, and then Undertaker rather, comes out and goes, for a man that's got nothing to lose, and then proceeds to turn into The Rock, in a way. Says he's a man that's nothing to lose, and then turns into The Rock. And starts doing that kind of thing. And calls Lesnar down. And Lesnar comes down, much to the dismay of Paul Heyman, jumps on the apron, and then jumps back down again. Saving his energy for Sunday, I guess, because we all know, ladies and gentlemen, if you're expecting a wrestling match this Sunday at Hell in the Cell, which I'll be greatly watching, I am not doing anything Monday. I don't give a damn what it is. I am watching Hell in a Cell this Sunday. I couldn't care less what I'm doing. Hell in a Cell Day is this Sunday for me. And if you expected a wrestling match, don't, because it's going to be a fight. Speaking of fights, Roman Reigns, Ric Flair comes out later on in the show and cuts a promo and introduces Roman Reigns and announces that Roman Reigns will team up with his buddy Dean Ambrose to face the Wyatts later on. More on that later. Reigns comes out and has a seated confrontation with Bray Wyatt, saying that Bray Wyatt is nothing but a bully, and Bray Wyatt is afraid to get in Hell in a Cell, and Bray Wyatt relies on his training wheels, which are the Wyatts himself. And yes, also Monday Night Raw saw the return to the Wyatt family of Eric Rowan. Eric Rowan is now back. So it seems that the Wyatts now are a four-piece. Luke Harper, Braun Strowman, Bray Wyatt, Eric Rowan. And, you know, back to Reigns. Reigns starts bullying him, puts the finger at him, starts pushing him. Wyatt gets up. Reigns smacks him right in the mouth and then takes out the Wyatts. Mind Games 101. Advantage Roman Reigns. And then just as it seemed that they were going to surround the ring and surround Roman Reigns, Dean Ambrose runs out and puts an end to it. More on the main event later on. HBK made an appearance. That's right, Shawn Michaels came out, talked about the Hell in a Cell match with Brock Lesnar and The Undertaker, and talked about how he was in the Hell in a Cell match, the very first one, against The Undertaker, and how amazing it is 18 years later that Undertaker's getting back in Hell in a Cell with Brock Lesnar, only to be interrupted by Seth Rollins. And Seth Rollins comes out and then says, Michael says something about him being the wannabe Shawn Michaels and all that. And then Michaels announces that Seth Rollins has got a match. Because Seth Rollins wanted his music playing because he was sick of talking about Demon Kane and blah, 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 and walks away. And wanted to leave the ring and have his music play. But they didn't play his music because Michaels turned around and told him he had a match with Ryback. And onto this match. This match was actually pretty good because the world champion had a game plan which worked to perfection, working on the ribs of Ryback. And as you could tell towards the end of the match, where Rollins kicks Ryback in the ribs and then hits the pedigree and gets the victory. So game plan always works, as Seth Rollins. And then a shocking moment later on in the evening because it was announced that it was going to be a handicap match. Bray Wyatt from the Wyatt family, Rowan and Strowman, took on Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose. Now, Stephanie and Triple H had a little bit of a weary idea of what this was going to be because, you know, they didn't want to ruin anything for Sunday. And then Shawn Michaels comes in and suggests that they put Seth Rollins into the match, Mr. Showstopper, as he was called. Hunter and Stephanie agree to it. So, Wyatt family to a supposed Shield reunion. All three members of the old Shield. And it was okay. It was mainly dominated by the Wyatt family. But the Wyatts ended up winning by disqualification because Ambrose came in and started whacking Strowman with a Singapore cane, and then proceeds to jump on Strowman on the outside, manages to get him outside, jumps on him, and then they grab him, slam him down, and as the Wyatts are beating up on Ambrose outside, apparently big dogs can fly because Roman Reigns flies over the top rope. And there was a point in the match as well, a point in that little segment, that little sequence, that I think might have been a botch. Because Roman Reigns went to hit Bray Wyatt with a spear, connects. I think from what I got, the supposed was you're supposed to hit Bray Wyatt, and Bray Wyatt was supposed to take the bullet. Not Bray Wyatt, Eric Rowan, sorry. You're supposed to take the bullet for him. You know, he's going for Bray Wyatt, but then Rowan gets in the way, and he takes the bullet for Bray Wyatt, and Bray Wyatt gets away. But it didn't happen. Although Reigns did manage to hit Rowan with the spear as well. Very weird stuff, but a great ending nonetheless. I enjoyed that bit as well. I thought it was a good ending to Raw. More on that in a second, though. Two Divas matches. Team PCB, not Team PCB, Team BAD rather, Bad, Sasha Banks, Naomi, and Tamina. Well, Sasha Banks and Naomi jumping out to the Bellas, to Team Bella, which was Nikki Bella and Alicia Fox. Okay. And as we all know, ladies and gentlemen, if you check out the Wrestling Matters podcast, episode 81, I have some little bit of news of them turning Sasha Banks babyface. Are they going to break her away from Team Bad? Who knows? But I think it would have been more interesting if Team Bad won that match, to be honest. But I know it's all building up momentum for Nikki Bella because she's got a match Sunday against Charlotte for the Divas title. More on that later. Speaking of Charlotte, she went one-on-one with Brie Bella again and basically squashed Brie Bella and got the victory. Yeah. Much, by the way, much to Paige's dismay, but, you know, putting them in the Bellas, I don't know. Making it too easy. But hopefully this Bellas and Charlotte feud will end Sunday. Just not really much to say about the Divas match, to be honest with you. Speaking of six-man tags, there was 2 six-man tags besides the main event. Ziggler, Cesaro, and Neville against Rusev and a tag team known, what was once known in a video game called the United Kingdom, Wade Barrett and Sheamus, for those of you who remember that. Now, it was an okay six-man tag, hard-hitting stuff, which eventually ended up seeing a brogue kick on Dolph Ziggler and Dolph losing the fall and Team Rusev, Barrett, and Sheamus getting the victory. It was okay. It was an okay match. But Cesaro, Ziggler, and Neville will get a chance for payback because it was announced as well that the rematch will take place on the kickoff show at Hell in a Cell. So, who knows? No doubt they'll probably get the revenge Sunday. But, all in all, Rusev, Sheamus, and Barrett were impressive. I got to give them their dues. My question is this. Wade Barrett has made it very clear from the dirt sheets that I've read that he wants to be part of a tag team. Sheamus, Barrett. Tag team champions sometime soon? Who knows? But I've made it very clear about Wade Barrett. He should be competing for the world title. That's just my opinion on that. Now, another six-man tag saw Cena and the Dudleys against my 3 favorite people. New Day. Fucking hate these guys, I'll be honest. I don't mind their talent, but it's the gimmick I don't get. And action-packed stuff towards the end. Devon gets distracted and Kofi beats him. And New Day get the victory, which culminated at the end with Xavier Woods tasting another table at the hands of the Dudley Boys and John Cena as well. Will the Dudleys become tag team champions? I blooming hope so. Like I said, I'll get to that in more depth later on. I love the fact that they're building the New Day now to this strong, badass faction, despite the fact that it's probably all going to end this Sunday. when they lose the tag belts. You know, made a little prediction now. I'll say it again. I'll go into more depth about it later on. You know, and as for Cena, Sunday could be the end of his US title run, from what I've heard as well. But what will happen is what will happen. But yeah, is it good that they're building New Day up to this badass team only for it to end Sunday? I don't know. But I'm not the New Day's biggest fan. I've made that very, very clear. And I'm making a prediction right now, which I'll get to more in depth in a second. Dudley's will be 10-time World Tag Team Champions. Right, just have a look and see what else was on Raw. I've talked about the main bits. I've talked about the Divas. I've talked about Rollins and Oh yeah, Kevin Owens and Mark Henry, or as Mark Henry is now known as Job Boy, because he's a former world champion, not a WWE World Heavyweight Champion, back when they had the WCW title. A former world champion, and this guy's jobbing out to people. Although Kevin Owens was impressive, because he hit the pop-up powerbomb. And then Ryback comes down, looks to get a piece of Kevin Owens. Henry throws Kevin Owens back in the ring, and Ryback powerbombs him. Little message for this Sunday. You know, it's a shame to see where Mark Henry's gone, to be honest. Hopefully Kevin Owens will retain Sunday, but like I said, just because he won the belt last month doesn't mean to say he's going to lose it. He's going to retain it this Sunday. They may put the belt back on Ryback, so don't be disappointed. Don't say you weren't warned. I hope they don't, but, you know, it is WWE at the end of the day. Maybe they're trying to make a feud out of Ryback and Kevin Owens. We'll find out Sunday, I suppose. But, yeah, Kevin Owens impressive, and it really is a shame to see where Mark Henry's gone. You know, former world champion, gone to a job now. That's what he's basically becoming. It's a shame. All in all, as far as Raw is concerned, I enjoyed it. I really did enjoy it, and it was a great Raw. Lots of legends, a Shield reunion, if you can call it a Shield reunion, despite the fact that Seth Rollins faked an injury and bailed on his team. Yeah, I would probably give this 7.5 out of 10 and 4 out of 5 in my terms. I liked it. I had no beef with Raw this week. Yeah, I would go as far as to say it was a great Raw this week and a good way to go into Hell in a Cell this Sunday, which is what they should do all the time. They should have a good one to go into a pay-per-view, and then after the pay-per-view, they should hit again just to come out of the pay-per-view. 9 times out of 10, they don't do that, though. But all in all, a great Raw nonetheless. Now, for my Hell in a Cell predictions, and I've got the matches here. I've already made it clear that the kickoff show, Ziggler, Cesaro, and Neville will be winners of the 6-man tag. I can't see WWE having this match on Raw, having Cesaro and Cesaro's team losing 2 straight times. Yeah, not going to happen. They'll get even on Sunday in the kickoff show. Not that I'll be watching. Cena's open challenge. Well, I'll make a prediction right now. Cena's going to lose. If the rumors are true, Cena will lose Sunday, and I will probably make a prediction on Sunday that Cena will lose his US title and take his time off. If he wins on Sunday, unless he loses it on Raw, he won't take his time off. But like I said, unless he loses it on Raw. We'll have to wait and see on that one. But I predict Sunday Cena will lose the US title. Somebody will come in. Hopefully it'll be Dolph, but it might be there might not be a possibility of that since Dolph's on the pre-show. I don't know who will step up. I really don't know. That's the beauty of this US Title Open Championship, the US Title Open Challenge, because you don't know who's going to show up. Anyone could show up. Anyone could show up, and that's what makes it interesting. They might want to start doing that with the Intercontinental title, the Intercontinental Championship Open Challenge, but I doubt Kevin Owens will do that. Speaking of Kevin Owens and Ryback for the Intercontinental Championship, I think Kevin Owens will retain. Yeah, that's basically all I've got to say on that one. I think Kevin Owens will retain, but don't be disappointed. No, don't be surprised if Ryback gets the belt back, if they decide to put the belt back on Ryback. But I hope they keep it on Kevin Owens. They need to, in my opinion. Charlotte and Nikki Bella. Charlotte to retain. If they put the belt back on Nikki Bella, the whole thing's been a waste of time. Charlotte's moment at Night of Champions has been one. It's been a waste of time if they do that. And Paige might be right, Paige might be wrong. I don't know, but I think they need to keep the belt on Charlotte, and I think they will do that. And if they're smart, they will do that. But if they somehow put it back on the future Mr. Cena, it's all been a waste of time. And this whole Divas Revolution, in my opinion, will die if they put the belt back on Nikki Bella. That's just my view on that. So keep the Divas Revolution going. And hopefully the 4 Horsewomen will rise very soon, after what I've been hearing. Now, done Nikki Bella. New Day and the Dudleys. New Day to win. I think not. Gotcha. Dudleys to be the 10-time World Tag Team Champions. I'll tell you this right now. If the Dudleys don't win Sunday, they've had 3. This is their 3rd attempt at the tag team titles. They had it on Night of Champions, the one by DQ. They had it at the MSG show, won by DQ. If they don't win the tag team titles this Sunday, whether they win it by the match by DQ or not, WWE basically made mugs out of them. It's as simple as that. How can you have 3 title shots at a tag team title and not win it the 3rd time? All right, first 2, okay, but you've got to win it the 3rd time. And if they don't win it on Sunday, they've made mugs out of them. WWE have made Dudleys look like fools. If the Dudleys this Sunday do not become 10-time World Tag Team Champions and end this New Day bullshit. So my prediction for that is Dudleys to win. Now, Demon Kane and Seth Rollins for the world title. I think I'm going with Seth Rollins. Do I want to see Demon Kane win the championship? Yes. But I kind of hope Seth Rollins wins and beats Kane so they can end this corporate Kane and have the Demon Kane back full time and end this Joseph Park phase that Kane's going through. 1 minute he's playing the part of Joseph Park as corporate Kane. Next minute he changes into Demon Kane on this Superman phase, as it's called, as I called it once. But this whole saga, corporate Kane, needs to end, and hopefully it will end Sunday at Hell in a Cell, and they bring back the Demon Kane full time. Because I'll be honest, when he came back at Night of Champions, I marked out. I did. Because finally, he was, I thought, Demon Kane coming back. Yes, no more corporate Kane. And then the next night on Raw, corporate Kane shows up. Sick. But I'm done. I was done with corporate Kane a long time ago. I want the Demon back. So if I have to sacrifice Seth Rollins winning the match on Sunday, even though he's long overdue to lose that belt, if I have to sacrifice it just for one match, just so They can get rid of Corporate Kane. I'm willing to do that. Seth Rollins to win on Sunday. And now for Roman Reigns and Bray Wyatt. And now I might get some stick for this, and I might get some dislikes in the comments or whatever. I'm going for Roman Reigns on this. Now, I'll tell you why I'm going for Roman Reigns. Because it's very clear as of late that WWE are trying to build this man as the next big thing. You know, build him to a world title run kind of thing. They're trying to build him up and develop him and do all that kind of stuff. For Roman Reigns to be in the upper echelons and go for the championship, the world title, he has to beat Bray Wyatt on Sunday. If he doesn't beat Bray Wyatt on Sunday, he's back to square one. You know, all of his chances of world title is well down the he'd be well back down the pecking order, so to speak, for the world championship, in my opinion. But if he wants to be up there, if WWE wants him to be up there, he has to win on Sunday against Bray Wyatt. It's going to be a fight. It's going to be a war. And that's what needs to happen if he wants to be back up there. If Roman Reigns wants to be back up there to the world championship stature and go for that world title, he needs to beat Bray Wyatt Sunday. Okay? I won't be disappointed if somehow Bray Wyatt wins, but that's what needs to happen. That's what WWE are looking for, because it's clear as day WWE are trying to make him the next big thing. It's been very clear to that, and if he loses on Sunday, the whole thing's been a waste of time. And he'll be back down the pecking order. For him to be back up there and to go for that world title and be back up in the spot that he was before this Wyatt feud, he needs to beat Wyatt on Sunday and end it there and then. Speaking of fights, Brock Lesnar, Undertaker. Brock Lesnar one-on-one with The Undertaker. And this is their final encounter. And if anybody's tuning in to the pay-per-view Sunday on the network or whatever the heck you can get it, and expecting a wrestling match, you will be suddenly disappointed, because this is going to be a war. If you want some ideas, go back to when The Undertaker was the American Badass and these two met for the first time in Hell in a Cell for the WWE Championship, which was once back then known as the Undisputed Championship, before Brock Lesnar signed full-time to SmackDown during the draft extension, the brand extension. And these two had a match in Hell in a Cell for the WWE title and No Mercy 2002, and this was a bloodbath. I predict that's going to be like that on Sunday. How they're going to start blood on Sunday is you know, it's going to be mind-boggling if there's no blood in this match. You know, I know there's no blood now. It's the PG era. There's no blood no more and all that blah blah blah. It's going to be amazing that if there's no blood on this Sunday. This is going to be a fight. There was blood at SummerSlam during the fight. You know, there was blood at SummerSlam. It's going to be a fight, and I'd like to see The Undertaker win, but I can't. I can't see him winning this. I think Brock will beat him. I won't be disappointed if The Undertaker wins, but I think Brock will beat him. You know, I have to go with Brock on this one. I'm sorry to all the Undertaker fans. I love me some Undertaker myself, but to my knowledge, Undertaker's never beaten Brock in Hell in a Cell. And I don't think it's going to end on I don't think it's going to, you know, go on Sunday. From what I've got, to my knowledge, it's an entirely different Undertaker to what it was back then in 2002. Because 2002 was a bloodbath. If you don't believe me, go and watch it. Go and watch the No Mercy pay-per-view of 2002, WWE title match. Brock Lesnar, Undertaker, a very young Brock Lesnar, up-and-coming star, just not long, 2 months ago, earlier, won the WWE Undisputed title from The Rock, goes into Hell in a Cell, faces The Undertaker, and it's a bloodbath. I expect it to be like that this Sunday. And I think Brock will win on Sunday. Brock Lesnar will win on Sunday. Although I kind of want to see The Undertaker win. I do want to see The Undertaker win. I'm just being realistic. I can't see it happening. Brock will win on Sunday. And that about wraps this video up, guys. That's the end of this. Thank you so much for tuning in, watching. If you didn't see it on the stream, don't worry. You're going to see it. It's going to be on the Wrestling Madness channel as well. Thank you for support on the Wrestling Madness channel. Hope it keeps up. I'll be back next week with another video and the Hell in a Cell review as well. So it's going to be another Raw review and a Hell in a Cell review. Also, guys, November. The month of November, okay, for 4 weeks straight, I'm going to be doing a Fear and Loathing review. I'm going to review Fear and Loathing 5, 2013's Fear and Loathing, 2014's Fear and Loathing, and hopefully, if it's up there in time, 2015's Fear and Loathing. That's right, November 15th is Fear and Loathing Day. Now, you're probably thinking to yourself, what the hell is Fear and Loathing? Fear and Loathing is ICW's biggest show of the year, November 15th. Insane Championship Wrestling. Okay? Insane Championship Wrestling. And I will review the 3 classics, Fear and Loathing 5, 2013's Fear and Loathing, and last year's as well. And hopefully, if it's up there, I will do 15 as well. All through the month of November. So November on the Wrestling Madness channel is dedicated to ICW's Fear and Loathing. That is here, that is there, that is done, and it will be delivered. So help me God. And until then, guys, thank you so much for watching. My name is Anthony Walker, here for the Wrestling Madness channel. Go to facebook.com/WM podcast for more, and you will see this video on that site as well. And until next time, guys, my name is Anthony Walker, like I say, where Wrestling Matters for the Wrestling Matters channel, bringing you the best in professional wrestling. And if you're here for sports entertainment, then you might as well leave, because this channel is about professional wrestling. And I'll tell you this right now, sports entertainment does not matter on this channel. Until next time, peace out. If you like the Wrestling Matters podcast, why not follow the Wrestling Matters podcast now on Twitter @WM Podcast for all professional wrestling news. Wrestling Matters, wrestling fans. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Wrestling Matters podcast. Hope you enjoyed that audio. And now it's time for the Smackdown, and we'll throw in NXT main talking points as well. Reinstated after being suspended for Raw, Corporate Kane wasted little time putting Seth Rollins into a match, but the director of operation left the opponent's identity secret. He also warned the architect not to run out on the match like he did on Raw, because he never would know who would be there to stop him. Kane also opted to put the New Day into the main event showdown against Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose. Rollins' opponent turned out to be Cesaro, and when the action seemed to get too hot for the title holder, he decided to take a walk, only to stop when he remembered Kane's earlier warning. Despite the director of operations' mind games and hard-fought offense by the Swiss Superman, in the end, Rollins was able to win with a pedigree. Also on SmackDown, Nikki Bella beats Paige with little help from Charlotte and that. Charlotte and Cole on the outside, which is understandable considering where Paige has been lately. Miz TV welcomed special guests Dolph Ziggler and Summer Rae. Now, this is going back to what happened last week. Summer Rae offered, basically wanted to go out to date Dolph Ziggler, but Dolph Ziggler turns around and goes, I'm just not interested in you, and all that, blah, blah, blah. But then Summer Rae introduces Tyler Breeze. That's right, Tyler Breeze makes his debut on SmackDown, and it seems the first person he's going for, Prince Pretty, looks to go for the Ziggler man, because Prince Pretty, Prince Pretty and Dolph Ziggler coming soon? I would think so. Probably at the Survivor Series. Or maybe on Raw this week. I don't know. Tonight. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. So much for... I mean, there was all the talk of him going into the US title. But, you know, all that surprise fell flat on its foot. Not going to talk about this match much. King Barrett and Sheamus beat the Lucha Dragons. Looks like Mr. Barrett is getting his wish. He wanted to be a tag team. Looks like he's getting it. Ryback destroys Bo Dallas. Really nothing much to say about that, really. Another Bo Dallas beatdown. And the main event, which saw Roman Reigns, Dean Ambrose against The New Day. In the height of the match pitting Roman Reigns, Dean Ambrose against the WWE Tag Team Champions, The New Day's attempt to curse out of action hit an extreme roadblock in the form of the number one contenders, the Dudley Boys. The Brothers-in-Arms took out Big E before Roman Reigns hit Kingston with a wicked Superman punch. As his opponent was leaping off the top rope, he finished off his prey with a thunderous spear for the 3 count. Xavier Woods was not at ringside after being put through the table by Bubba Ray, Devon, and John Cena on Raw. If he's not able to make Hell in the Cell, the New Day may run into trouble this Sunday at Hell in the Cell. And like I say, if you've seen Hell in the Cell, you know what's happened. As the smoke cleared, SmackDown's main event, Bray Wyatt interrupted, making it clear that Roman Reigns will have nowhere to hide from his fear at Hell in the Cell. And that is the end of the SmackDown main points there. Pardon for that little hiccup there. And now we'll get straight in to the NXT main talking points. Asuka defeats Bayley Kay. Another squash match for Asuka, the new sensation in the women's division on NXT. Enzo Amore and Colin Cassidy beat Dash and Dawson. I'm not the biggest fan of them, Enzo Amore. Danny Burch, which is Martin Stone to British wrestling fans, went one-on-one with the debut James Storm. That's right, James Storm's match, which we already knew because it was televised. The NXT universe was stunned when ring veteran James Storm arrived at Full Sail University. Once the reality of the ring veteran's NXT debut set in, the Tennessee Cowboy was welcomed with a thunderous ovation from the Florida crowd. Danny Burch, however, was out to spoil the party. The 18-year veteran would not be denied, though, as Storm planted Burch with the 8-second ride to win the match and make a huge statement. Peyton Royce got beat by Alexia Bliss. I think that would be the statement match for Alexia to go after Bayley's Divas title. And Baron Corbin defeats Rhino in the main event. The destructive duo of Corbin and Rhino made it all the way to the final of the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic at TakeOver Respect, but their partnership crumbled when the Lone Wolf tossed the Man Beast from last week's number one contenders match for the NXT title. The two Titans started the bout by trading blows. The thud of bone connecting with bone connecting through the arena. The brawl spilled to the floor when the Lone Wolf eventually hurled Rhino into the steel steps. That gave Corbin an opening that he needed to take control of the match and manhandle the Man Beast. Corbin used his strength to wear Rhino down, keeping the former ECW champion on the mat. The veteran fought back, but was cut off by Corbin at nearly every impasse through Rhino eventually rammed him into the steel steps. Corbin persevered on his way to victory, kicking out of the gore before countering with a second end of days for an impressive win. What's next for Baron Corbin? We have to wait and see, I suppose. But that is the end of the NXT and SmackDown main talking points, and I'll be back right after this with more on TNA. So stay tuned. If you like the Wrestling Matters podcast, why not check out their Facebook page at facebook.com/WM podcast and like the page and show your support to the podcast that stands up for professional wrestling, the Wrestling Matters podcast. Wrestling Matters, wrestling fans. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Wrestling Matters podcast. It is now time for TNA. Now, TNA is obviously it's headlined by the World Title Series, so I'm not going to talk about it too much. Like I've said many times, this whole thing's pointless if you ask me. Austin Aries and Mr. Anderson. Aries beats Mr. Anderson. Good grief. Aries beats Mr. Anderson. Mandrews, Mark Andrews. Tigre Uno eventually beats him. It talks, broadcast exclusive. It plays the return bout from... it plays the match, the main event for Bound for Glory 2015, which was pointless, quite frankly, considering Matt stripped it a couple of days later, forfeited the title a couple of days later, and ended up being, which led to this tournament itself, which, like I said, guys, the whole thing is completely pointless. Manic and DJZ. DJZ eventually gets the win. That's all that needs to be said on that. And the main event, which was Bobby Lashley and EC3, and EC3 got the victory by hitting the 1%er, countering a low blow. Like I've said many, many times, guys, everybody knows no matter what, TNA is recorded weeks in advance. It's recorded weeks in advance, and it's just, I don't know what direction. I mean, the only thing that's saving TNA at the moment is their pay-per-views, because they actually do good pay-per-views, but their TV is well behind. And I don't care what anybody says, you can't have TV that is well behind, because it could mess up, the leading into the Bound for Glory thing. Yes, you record it in advance and everything, and it somehow builds into Bound for Glory. But, I mean, you could be a week behind. I mean, at the moment right now, James Storm's still in TNA, but we all know he's on NXT now. I mean, the whole thing, to me, doesn't make sense. Why TNA have gone down this road. Maybe a change for them as far as getting them off this network and going onto another network. Because let's face it, considering TNA last week and Ring of Honor, I would imagine Ring of Honor did great. 10 times better than TNA, because Ring of Honor did a great show. Like I'll say later on, they did a great show. But, and I'll talk about that more later. The whole thing, the direction of TNA at the moment just doesn't make sense. And this whole world title thing just doesn't make sense at all. That's just my opinion on that, guys. Right, that's about it for TNA's main talking points there. That's all I want to talk about, quite frankly. And I'll be back right after this with Ring of Honor main talking points and review. So stay tuned. Be sure to tune in each and every Wednesday for the Progress Wrestling Podcast. That's right, each and every week on Wednesdays, for the time being at least, I will be reviewing their shows from their on-demand service, Demand Progress. So be sure to check out the hottest promotion to come out of London. That's right, it's Progress Wrestling. This is Progress. This is a podcast on Progress. Every Wednesday on SoundCloud, YouTube, OSW TV, and every other podcasting site that matters. Be sure to check it out. Wrestling matters, wrestling fans. Be sure to tune in every single Tuesday now for the Wrestling Matters Podcast Extra, where I'll be hosting a podcast on one promotion and one promotion only. ICW, Insane Championship Wrestling, the hottest promotion in Scotland. Well, I'll be reviewing their shows.
Oh my God!
Talking ICW.
That's 13-14!
And who knows, maybe getting some guests on. So be sure to tune in to the Wrestling Matters Podcast Extra ICW podcast, Insane Championship Wrestling, every Tuesday on YouTube, Podomatic, Stitcher Radio, downloaded free at iTunes, Mixcloud, and SoundCloud. Wrestling Matters, wrestling fans.
World, look into my eyes. When you see me on a show, when you see these fans, you know you've got the best in the damn world. We are ICW and you're gonna know our name.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Wrestling Matters Podcast. Now I'm going to talk about Ring of Honor. That's right, Ring of Honor. A 5-star Ring of Honor this week. Very intriguing intriguing show rather. Kicked off with the Addiction against All Night Express, Kenny King and Rick Titus, and a very even match, partly dominated by the Addiction. Two great teams going at it for the to claim a shot at the Ring of Honor World Tag Team titles. Two very good teams going at it. Kind of ended weird because what happened in All-Star Express that cost the Addiction to lose the belts happened again because somebody came down with a KID mask, which we all knew. If you go back a couple of months ago, we all knew it was revealed the KID were Sabin, Addiction, Kaz, and Almighty Christopher Daniels. Chris Sabin was at ringside but got ejected. Now, from what I saw, there was a beard on there. I don't know who it can be. Probably somebody who's pissed off. Probably somebody who's pissed off the Addiction. Got to have been. Or the Addiction's pissed him off or whatever. But it's kind of... I don't know if it's kind of weird, but at the end of the day, they're getting a taste of their own medicine, the KID, the Addiction and Sabin. They're getting a taste of their own medicine, which is, causing them this. And the All Night Express win with a springboard blockbuster off the top rope thing, which was from the apron. Now, it's very strange what this is going down to. But, it is very strange what this is going down to, because the KID and all that, the Addiction are basically getting a taste of their own medicine. Who is capable of doing this? Who knows? But Ring of Honor is getting interesting at the moment, because it's interesting to see who's pulling these stunts towards the Addiction, and it's getting very interesting at the moment. Speaking of interesting, Kingdom come out. Adam Cole and Mike Bennett and Matt Taven come out with Maria Kanellis and gloat at what they did at All-Star Extravaganza. Kingdom winning the tag team titles and Adam Cole costing Kyle O'Reilly the championship, the world title. Now, it's all because Adam Cole wants his title back. He wants to be the shot. He couldn't stand the fact that Kyle O'Reilly was on the verge of getting these shots, and the thought of Kyle O'Reilly becoming world champion ate him up, basically, and tore him apart in a way. But that couldn't have happened in Adam Cole's way. And they got on Red Dragon. Red Dragon eventually came out. And they also made references and derogatory remarks in a way to Michael Elgin, which backfired because Elgin came out and stood up with Red Dragon to fight. 6-man tag for next week. Adam Cole and Kingdom versus Red Dragon, Michael Elgin. However, in 2 weeks, and this is what I'm looking forward to, Adam Cole runs his mouth about wanting to be the number one contender to the World Championship. He's going to get a shot to prove himself in 2 weeks. Not next week, but the week after. It's going to be Adam Cole one-on-one with AJ Styles, the sanctioned number one contender after what happened at All-Star Extravaganza. So he's got an opportunity to prove himself in 2 weeks in what will be more than likely an epic match, and probably a candidate for match of the year, despite the fact that it's on Ring of Honor television. These two could main event a pay-per-view, and it would get over. So, question is though, will they bring the Kingdom? Will Adam Cole do it one-on-one? Will he bring the Kingdom? Will AJ Styles bring the Young Bucks? Because let's face it, the Young Bucks want a piece of the Kingdom, tag team titles and that. But we'll see in 2 weeks. It should be epic though. Now on to the main event, which turned into a no disqualification match involving Adam Page of the Decade and Jay Briscoe. This has been brewing for a couple of weeks now, maybe a month or two, because Adam Page has done nothing but call Jay Briscoe out. Adam Page has done it, or is that what I call it? What's his name? BJ Whitmer doing it. BJ Whitmer was at ringside at the announce table, much to Steve Corino's dismay, and this match was a war. It wasn't a wrestling match, it was a brawl, quite frankly. Dre Gilla threw a table off the apron. Jay Gilla in the ring as well, which ended up giving Jay Briscoe the victory. A swinging neck breaker while Adam's head is in a chair. Just brutality at its best. And Adam Page managed to find his way to get back up. And he calls for BJ to get in the ring and help him. But BJ's too busy jaw-jacking with Steve Corino. And then Adam Page turns around, gets clotheslined. Jay hits the Jay Gilla and gets the victory. So basically, when Adam Page called for Steve Corino, he wasn't there. Called for BJ Whitmer, rather, he wasn't there, excuse me. And then BJ comes in, attacks Jay Briscoe, and then Steve Corino just loses it. Gets up off the table, goes in the ring, takes his jacket off, hangs it in the turnbuckle area. BJ Whitmer is antagonizing Corino to hit him. He's begging him to hit him. And then Corino just knocks him out with one punch, and all these coins splatter all over the ring. Punches him, coins all over the ring. He basically hit him with a bag or roll of coins, or quarters, or whatever it was. Basically knocked him out with one punch, and then Corino walks away, hugs Kevin Kelly, walks off. Is this the end of Steve Corino in the announce position? I think it is, from what I've seen. But, they can't fire Steve Corino for that. Surely to God. I know he's supposed to be out there doing commentary, and he's a commentator now. He can lay his hands on the wrestlers and all that. But Ring of Honor can't say that that's been coming for months. Or that hasn't been coming for months. Because it has. Maybe we'll see Steve Corino versus BJ Whitmer. Intriguing thoughts on Ring of Honor this week. And like I say, it's a 5-star show, baby. Right. That is the end of this part of the Wrestling Matters podcast. I'll be back. Well, I'll be back when I come back after this quick time out. I'm going to play part 2 of Michael Larkin. I'm just going to get straight into it. Part 2 of Michael Larkin's Wrestling Zone with Michael Larkin. So you missed last week, go and check it out. Part 2 is right after this break, so stay tuned. And I'll be back after it with the Go Out part of the Wrestling Matters podcast. I've got a quick thing to say as well, a little recommendation as well. So I'll be back right after this audio in the next part of the Wrestling Matters podcast with a Go Out show and a recommendation too. So stay with us. If you like the Wrestling Matters podcast, why not follow the Wrestling Matters podcast now on Twitter at WM Podcast for all professional wrestling news. Wrestling Matters, wrestling fans. Now, I'm going to get off key here with all these indie stuff in a minute. I want to bring something up.
Yeah.
I want to bring I watched a TV show over here that we have in UK called Unchallenged. I don't know if you guys get it over there in America. I think the only best way you can get it in America is watching it on YouTube.
Yeah.
Wrestle Talk TV.
I'm aware of them, yeah.
Yeah. Wrestle Talk Television aired something yesterday. It's a half-hour show here in the UK for those of you that don't know. It went from an hour to half an hour to an hour back to half an hour again. And it mentioned yesterday that what happened at Night of Champions involving Sting, the injury that he picked up, there's rumours flying around that it could be a career-ending one. What's your take on that? Do you think Sting should have stayed away from WWE?
No, because I think the way that they were using him in TNA was just, terrible, and I thought his TNA run was very lackluster. I'm glad that he finally went and got the run with WWE. I enjoyed the match with Seth Rollins. I think he's in excellent shape that he can bounce back from this, and yes, he took a beating, but I think he will bounce back, and personally, I'd like to see next year, since they're in Texas, Taker and Sting, the match that we want to see because it's a dream match, but like I said, that is if he's up to it. I'm not him, so I necessarily don't know how he's feeling, but I hope he can bounce back. He's in excellent shape for his age, and, I look forward to see what we have coming from the Stinger.
Let's bring up something that we talked about on Wrestling Unleashed regarding The Undertaker, because I mentioned, as you clearly just mentioned there, that I want to see the Sting Undertaker match, no matter what shape they're in or whatever, or what it could bring out, or without it being the worst match ever, or whatever people say about it. But you brought up something on the Wrestling Unleashed that I'm going to bring up here right now about Undertaker and the 3 possible matches that he could have. And I believe the 3 were Braun Strowman, John Cena, Seth Rollins.
Correct.
Now, I already said that who I think it would probably be out of the if they had to choose out of the 3, because John Cena is John Cena and he's the Mecca guy, and plus there's rumours flying around that Seth Rollins is going to be involved in another match at WrestleMania, and I don't know about Braun Strowman. I believe it's too early for him to get into that kind of monstrous role. Facing The Undertaker at WrestleMania, I think it's a little bit too early for him for that. But what's your take on that? I gave you man. What's your take on it?
It's interesting. The Braun Strowman goes back with the Wyatt family thing from this year, but like I said, I agree with you. It is too early for Braun to get the Taker. Seth Rollins would be interesting because if you want to play off, the whole he smashed. After Brock Lesnar smashed Kane's ankle there, and then Seth came in and stomped on it. If you want to see him go against the Undertaker and Seth Rollins, that'd be cool. I think it would be an excellent match. And John Cena's interesting because, like I said, we haven't seen him and Taker touch since 2003 when he was the badass and he was all about word life. This is basic thugonomics. I think it would be excellent. If you really wanted to get heel heat for Cena, you'd have him beat the Undertaker, which I would be pissed off. And if you want to have Cena, if Cena wins, we riot. You have him beat the Undertaker at WrestleMania, but I wouldn't see that. I would have a Taker win. But I think Rollins and Cena would be Rollins or Cena would be excellent opponents for him. But if I would to pick out of the 2, I would like to see a Taker Cena match.
Me too. I said that on the Wrestling Unleashed. Speaking of John Cena, there's been a lot of talk back in the day, and to be honest with you, people still talk about it to this day, and quite frankly, it drives me up the damn wall hearing about it, because we all know it's not going to happen. But people still talk about John Cena turning heel. Do you think he should turn heel, or do you think... Obviously, WWE probably won't allow it, but do you think he should turn heel?
I don't think they'll allow because of the kids. I think, the kids will just be he'll be upset because he's one of the top merchandise sellers for that company. Well, he's the face of the company if they don't tell you, like, over and over again on their shows. The thing is, man, if he was to turn heel, I think it would be like a Hogan scenario, 1996, like, because you wouldn't expect it because it's like the ultimate good guy turning heel, like like when Hogan joined the NWO. That's how I would compare it to, if he were to do it.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's what I was thinking as well. There's all this possibility. I mean, Hogan doing, the WCW run and going into WCW as the almighty real American that he was in WWE, and people got sick of it. Mm-hmm. And I think he faced the Giant at a Super Brawl pay-per-view once, and he was getting booed out the building.
Yes, was that the one where he fought him with the monster truck on top of the building?
I believe that was Halloween Havoc.
Oh God, well yeah,
they fought that.
Bad memories.
Yes, that was when they fought at Halloween Havoc, which involved the Mummy.
The Yeti. The Yeti.
Yeah, the Mummy, as it's no thing. It was just ridiculous. But like I said, he went to. I think they faced each other at Super Brawl. Him in the Big Show, who was back then as known as the Giant, and he got booed out the building, and that's when they ended up going to try and convince him to turn heel. And apparently, he didn't want to do it at first. Mm. But it ended up happening, and one thing leads to another, and it is what it is. I've just picked something up here. Courtesy of a website that I'm looking at right now, it was announced by TMZ. WWE stars Rusev and Lana are engaged. I
read that yesterday.
Good grief.
That makes it interesting for the storyline with Rusev and Summer Rae.
Yeah. I can't wait for Raw tonight. I can't wait to see Raw now after that. Anyway, what's your take on the status of the Intercontinental Championship in WWE at the moment? Because we all know John Cena is doing his thing with the US Open Challenge and everything, and although that looks like, from what we gather, it's going to come to an end soon. But what's your take on the status of the Intercontinental Championship? Because I think they tried to do the same thing that they're doing with the US title at WrestleMania. They tried to do it with the Intercontinental Championship and put it on Daniel Bryan. Mm. But Daniel Bryan got injured. He injured his neck.
Yes.
And then that's what led to Ryback eventually picking up the title in the Elimination Chamber, and now it leads to Kevin Owens. Do you think the status is in... Do you think the Intercontinental Championship itself is in good shape, or does it need a lot more work? Because we all know right now, considering where it's gone and what's happened, we all know it's not what it used to be. Mm. It's basically gone downhill. Do you think it's in good shape still, or do you think there needs to be a lot more work done to bring it back to the shape it once was?
I think it's in good shape. I like that Kevin Owens is the champion now, because I'll be honest with you, when Ryback works hard, I think he's a very hardworking big man, and he's talented. But his reign was the drizzling shit. So I'll say it right now. I was happy to see KO get the belt. Him as the champion is going to be very, very interesting, because I look forward to seeing who he's going to wrestle. Personally, I'd like to see him and Cesaro have a reboot of their feud and have them feud over the Intercontinental title. That's personally the direction I'd like to see Owens go with the belt. Do you think?
What do you think of Kevin Owens as as the Intercontinental Champion?
I like it, man. I think he'll go far as the Intercontinental Champion. I think it's the right call to make him the Intercontinental Champion. He is a very talented wrestler. He was great, on the Indies. The fight, Steen, fight, kill, Steen, kill. Fight Owens, fight. Just he's an all-around excellent talent, and he has a lot to offer to the company.
Do you think he's still? I mean, do you see him? Do you think he could be a babyface? Because we all know he was a babyface in Ring of Honor a few times.
Yeah, him and Generico.
Him and Generico, and then his mission to kill what he created in Scum, which he eventually did.
Yep.
What's your take? I mean, do you think? I mean, we all know right now he's a heel. He's one of the top heels in the company. He's one of the bad boys in the company. Do you think any down the road that he could be that babyface he once was, or do you think the audience won't appeal or won't, buy him as a babyface?
I actually think the audience will get him over because of his talents, and he's just really good. He has charisma, so I can see him getting over with the audience, and the audience actually turning him babyface. He doesn't even have to do anything. I think the audience just says it. It's self-explanatory.
Okay, back to TNA, because I want to bring something up. I mentioned this when I eventually saw it on the website, and it was happening after Bound for Glory. What's your take on this situation with Matt Hardy in TNA? Because as you don't know, ladies and gentlemen, Bound for Glory, he eventually ended up being the World Heavyweight Champion by pinning Drew Galloway and not pinning EC3, but he ended up pinning Drew Galloway in the Triple Threat match. And then 7 days later, thanks to an injunction by EC3, he gets banned from being on Impact for a month or whatever it was, and then he has to forfeit the belt, and he ends up forfeiting the belt, which leads to the World Title Series. What was your take on that situation, and what do you see happening for Matt Hardy in TNA?
I believe this was the angle that they were going to go with anyway in the first place, from what I was reading on the sites. I don't think it makes sense if, Matt Hardy just vacated the title and, he doesn't want to be with TNA because of this and, with the whole EC3 injunction and all that. And now he's throwing his hat back into the World Title Series. It's like, he lost the title, then why we take it off him in the first place if we're just going to put him in the World Title Series?
Yeah, I mean, like I said to you on the Wrestling Unleashed podcast, if there's anyone who should be in there, is Drew Galloway. Drew Galloway should probably end up taking the belt if that's the case. Speaking of Drew Galloway, I watch this guy a lot now since he left WWE because he's currently the Insane Championship Wrestling World Heavyweight Champion, at least until November, when they have their big show called Fear and Loathing. But at the moment, right now, he's competing. He likes to compete all over the world. He's competed for He's currently competing for TNA. He's competed for Evolve and all sorts of indie shows as well as the UK stuff and as well as ICW. But what is your take on him? I mean, is this a different Drew Galloway from what he used to be in WWE as Drew McIntyre? Or, is he still relatively the same guy he once was? Or same guy in a way, not 100%, but there is a semblance of what he used to be back in WWE now.
When he first came into WWE, I thought he was... I'll take it even back. When he first came in 2007, he was teaming with Dave Taylor, very, very briefly. And then he went back down to developmental, and then they repackaged him as the Chosen One when he came back up to the roster. And he had some great matches with John Morrison for the Intercontinental Championship, who he defeated for the Intercontinental Championship. And then, he was getting a big push. He wrestled The Undertaker on Edition of SmackDown. And one of the things that killed him, I think, was when he got into that fight in the hotel room with his then wife, Miss Tiffany, a.k.a. Miss Taryn Terrell. And I think she beat him up a little bit in the hotel room. That kind of got him a little bit of a deep push. And then, he re-merged and they did the three-man band shtick. And then, unfortunately, he got released. But all in all, he's a talented wrestler. And now that he's back on the indies as, Drew Galloway's real name, his moniker there, I think he's absolutely shining. I mean, I look forward to see more from him in the future.
Yeah, and he's in TNA as well, currently in TNA at the moment as well. And not a lot of people, are buying to this stand up for professional wrestling thing that he's doing. Well, I don't know if he's doing it in TNA. It seems he's not doing it anymore in Scotland because people are not buying it, from what I'm seeing. And people are shouting for Grado to become the ICW World Heavyweight Champion instead of him. Because I think he's made some bad decisions in ICW. That's why people are not getting him anymore. Do you see him being a TNA World Heavyweight Champion?
Yeah.
Down the road?
Oh, yeah. I think they have money with that guy. They just got to know how to. They just better book him properly.
I mean, obviously you mentioned he's back on the indies. Do you see... Obviously TNA now is an indie show.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what anyone says. They're not the show they used to be. They're not the company they used to be. They are indies now. No way they're the stature of what they used to be now. And you can't look at what they're doing as far as booking goes and call them a main player to WWE. Do you think... I know it's going to take them a long time to do it, and there's a lot of work that's going to, it's going to be needing to get there, to get back to what they once were. Do you see them getting back to the status they were before all this money problems and issues and all that, that's made them go back to what they used to be, or to what they are now?
That's tough, man. It all depends on you. It all depends on how they go from full forward. With Dixie Carter and Billy Corgan and John Gaborick and whatever the hell they do. If Dixie Carter can do something to improve that company, I don't know. Just Dixie Carter, I'm sorry, is just not when it comes to promoting and all that. She just, as far as wrestling wise, I don't feel like she knows the business all that well. It's just it just. I don't know, man. We'll have to see how it goes. I can't give you a decisive answer on that. I'm sorry.
What's the future for one James Storm? Because as we all know, ladies and gentlemen, he's signed up. He's in WWE now. He's signed to NXT. What future do you see for him down the road? Do you see him being an NXT champion? Do you see him staying on NXT? Do you see him going to the NXT to the main roster? Raw, Smackdown, and whatever else they have up there. I mean, what's your take on James Storm in WWE, and what do you see his future? What good could come out of it?
Hell, as long as I don't gotta watch him wrestle Mahabali Shera anymore, I'm happy. He's in, he did the NXT thing with Danny Burch there, and who is a very, very formidable talent. He's been with their performance center. Another guy to check out, Danny Burch. Cowboy James Storm is going to be excellent in NXT, man. He's been great with Chris Harrison, AMW, his singles run in TNA, but now that he's in NXT, I can see him being the ring veteran that, goes with the young talent and, helps them, get along and just have great matches, man. I'm looking forward to what James Storm brings to the NXT brand.
Are you aware of CJ Parker?
Yes, I am.
Well, he revealed on Instagram account that he's now signed to New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Is that good for him? Do you think that would be good for him? Because he wasn't getting anywhere in NXT. Do you think that could be? Do you think that could be good for him going to Japan?
Oh yeah, that's very good for him because he was a guy that wanted his release. He saw he was going nowhere, and instead of just sticking around doing nothing, I'll go to Japan, I'll get better. Because, there's no better place to go to get better than, Japan. And, then I'll come back and I'll hopefully they'll sign me back. I'll come back and I'll show them, what I got.
Now, going back to TNA back in the day, right? But early on this year, I want to get your take on this because we all know what happened. Back when they were doing the Rising group with Drew Galloway, and obviously the BDC, the Beatdown Clan, which fell apart immensely and very slowly too, considering where Samoa Joe ended up. There was something that went down, ladies and gentlemen, that involved MVP. Because MVP apparently got fired from TNA. Because apparently, from what I read, MVP, for those of you that don't know, allow me to explain. MVP vouched, if you will, for Hernandez, Supermax, as he's known in TNA, to come into the group. To come and be a member of the group. And they already had Homicide in there, for crying out loud. So, why not bring Supermax in? And make it a 4-piece. Lo and behold, Hernandez was still contracted to the Mexican promotion. I believe it was CMLL.
Lucha Underground.
Lucha Underground or something like that. He was still contracted to them. TNA, being the complete idiots they are, they obviously didn't take time to check on that. And eventually they did, and they found out. I mean, they didn't do that in the first place, but they eventually checked on it and found out that he actually was still working for the Lucha Underground promotion. And obviously TNA didn't take too kindly to that, so they blamed... So instead of taking responsibility for themselves... from what I got at least, taking responsibility for themselves and not, checking up on this, and, like if you were getting a reference in a job somewhere, not checking up on this, they fired MVP. What's your take on that? I know this goes back a couple of months ago, but I gotta get your take on that, because it's still mind-blowing to this very day, for me.
Oh, I don't know their thought process. That gets me too. But if MVP's happy, where he's at now, if he's going back to Japan or whatever, that's cool, man. Because I don't think they weren't. When he got hurt, I think is what hurt him. Because after he got hurt, I mean, the BDC it was good, but it wasn't like MVP was like he was when he was managing Lashley and he was with Kenny King and all that, but. I'm happy that, MVP is doing this thing in Japan, but like you said, it was shitty that he got fired the way he did.
Yeah. Also, apparently we want to give a shout out to Bruno Sammartino. Apparently he's, according from what I'm seeing right now, this might be old news or whatever, but apparently he's in a hospital recovering from back surgery. So send a shout out to him on that. What is the status of the World Heavyweight Champion Seth Rollins as World Heavyweight Champion to you? Do you see him losing the title anytime soon? Because in my opinion, they planted the seeds of them pulling the trigger and eventually him losing the title. Losing the belt. Eventually, there was those seeds planted there that there was going to, there was cause for him losing the championship, and it says he's going to do this and this and this, but it didn't work out for him.
Mm-hmm.
And he still manages to be the champion to this very day. Is he going to lose this belt anytime soon? And if so, who would you want to beat him?
God, one of the worst things they could do is you could have Kane beat him at Hell in a Cell and have Sheamus cash in on Kane and win it that way, but I really don't want to see it that way. I don't see him losing it to Kane. Who I would have him lose to? That's interesting. I don't know. I like Seth Rollins as the champion, but they keep making him, the chicken shit, and it kind of just turns you off in a way. But when he gets in the ring, he can go. But as making him the chicken shit is just, it turns you off a little bit. But I really don't know who to have him lose it to. I sure as hell know it's not going to be Kane.
Yes. To be honest with you, as much as I want to see him lose the belt, don't have him drop it to Kane. Also, I want to get your quick thought on something that just popped up here. What is your take on the Hulk Hogan situation? This racist scandal that he's going through. Because apparently there's an article on this website that I'm looking at that it says Hulk Hogan feels he's not in the WWE Hall of Fame. For those of you that don't know, it seems that WWE are turning Hulk Hogan basically into Chris Benoit. And they're trying to get the WWE people not to have any conversations with him, and basically thinking he doesn't exist anymore. What's your take on this whole Hulk Hogan thing? I mean, is it good? Is it bad? Is it just stupid on WWE's part? Hell, is Hogan a racist? What's your deal?
Racism, I don't condone it. I think racism is a horrible, horrible thing. It's not good in any shape or form. I think that in a couple of years, maybe we'll have Hogan be back in the good graces, but right now I think we're just laying low of the whole Hogan deal. But like I said, I don't know where it goes from here. When I watched his thing on Good Morning America talking about, me and my friends used to say that's how we used to greet each other, I thought that was a load of crap. But, like I said, all with Hogan, the whole thing is just, I think it was all wrong. I know it was from years ago, but like I said, just racism is wrong, and I don't condone it. And with the whole thing, just Hulk Hogan, like I said, I was a big fan of Hulk Hogan. I still am a big fan of Hulk Hogan, but I think the whole thing is just terrible.
Right, well, coming towards the end of this now. I don't want to do this too long or anything like that, but this is only just the start of it, and hopefully, like I say, whatever we don't do now, we'll do more in the future as well, like we're going to do on the Wrestling Unleashed show.
No problem.
I'll finish this wrestling talk with this. Apparently, Wade Barrett has talked about being a part of a tag team, saying he would like to be a part of a tag team. Mm-hmm. What is your take on that, and who would you want to see him team up with? And do you think he should be going into tag team wrestling, or do you think he should be going in now to, he should be going for a world championship run or somewhere or something like that? What is the status with Wade Barrett with you? What do you think he should be doing?
Personally, if they want to do something with Wade Barrett, I know they're doing a thing with him and Neville in a feud now, but I think that could eventually lead to a mutual respect between the two. If you want to do something like that and have Neville and Wade Barrett as a tag team, the two Englishmen as a tag team, the High Flyer and the Bare Knuckle Fighter, have an interesting mix of styles there.
Yeah. Speaking of Neville, I'll continue with this for a minute. I want to give your thought on Neville, because there's a lot of things that are going down with Neville. People reckon that they're trying to portray him as the new Rey Mysterio. I mean, he's a former NXT champion. He ended Bo Dallas's run as NXT champion. I mean, what do you see the future for Adrian Neville, or Neville as he's now known, which is, God, Bennett. Wow, they came up great with that name, didn't they? Let's call him Neville. Didn't they do that in NXT? For goodness sake. And by the way, I'll get to NXT in a second. I want to talk about one more thing with that as well. But what's your take on Adrian Neville's future? Do you see him being a potential World Heavyweight Champion in the future? Or do you see what people seeing him as the next Rey Mysterio? Which I hope is not the case.
Well, I'll go with you with the Ray thing. Ray's title reign was absolutely horrible. It was. Let's just say it. It was horrible.
Would you agree? Would you agree that he only got that belt? Which championship are you talking about? The World Heavyweight title?
Yeah.
Or both? Because he was WWE champion for a bit as well.
When he got the World Heavyweight title in 2006 at that WrestleMania, that was just for Eddie Guerrero and to pay tribute to Eddie Guerrero.
Yes, many people still believe that to this very day, that he only got that title because of Eddie Guerrero. And there was a lot of people that talked about, and even I think Stephanie mentioned it as well, if he hadn't died, he'd have been world champion.
Mm-hmm.
But what is your take with Adrian What's your take with Adrian Neville?
Well,
what's the future? Yeah, what's the future with him? And do you see him being a world champion in the future?
I could see him in a couple of years. Not like 2, maybe like 3 or 4 years being a champion. he has that Rey Mysterio mixed with AJ Styles, mixed with Rob Van Dam like style. I enjoy his work. I like his matches. I enjoyed his work in NXT with Bo Dallas. He's had many great matches with Tyson Kidd. I liked him when he came to the roster against guys like Barrett and just the whole nine, man. I think he has a lot of potential, but how they had him booked, to lose in like 20 seconds to Sheamus this week, I thought was ridiculous. But I don't know, man. We'll see how we go with Neville in the future. But I think it'll be bright. I don't think he'll be portrayed like Rey Mysterio because he does have a lot to bring to the table.
What feud do you see him being in?
What feud?
I mean, who would be better for him to feud with? I know he's had these feuds with Sheamus. He's on our feuds with Sheamus, and Stardust, Cody Rhodes, King Barrett. He's back with King Barrett now, feuding with him. Mm-hmm. Who would be a good feud for him somewhere down the road in the future?
Personally, if they don't do like I was mentioning earlier about Owens and Cesaro, I'd like to see an Owens-Neville feud. Yeah,
I suppose. Haven't they feuded in yeah, but they did kind of feud in NXT, but that eventually ended up going up to the main roster, didn't they?
Yeah,
because of the whole power bomb on the apron
correct
angle. Speaking of NXT, speaking of NXT, we all know NXT is part of WWE, and I'll end this with this.
Yeah,
NXT is part of WWE. We all know that, but what's your take on WWE? Because there's times in WWE, whether it's Raw, SmackDown, or whatever, it seems and it feels like they're trying to portray NXT as not a part of their brand. I know NXT's looking to branch out on its own, from what I've got, but it seems they try not to mention it on the WWE programming. I mean, I'll give you an example. Kevin Owens' first match in WWE was against John Cena.
Mm-hmm.
No, it wasn't. His first match in WWE was, I believe, against CJ Parker on an NXT show.
Yeah.
When he squashed him in about God knows how many minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what's your take on that? I mean, to me, it's irritating.
It is, because they want to ignore the history of like the NXT and how they were got up. I mean, it's an alternative for people who don't want to watch Raw for 3 hours and bang their heads up against the wall and just go.
It's a better brand.
It is. I mean, hell yeah. I mean, but it is. It's irritating. I mean, mention where they got their start. Don't be afraid to. I mean, it's your brand. I mean, mention history.
Yeah, it's not fucking TNA, for crying out loud.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. I understand you don't want to mention TNA. I mean, Christian winning his first world championship in God knows how long, even though he was a TNA world heavyweight champion.
But they won't mention TNA.
Exactly, they won't mention TNA. And R-Truth being a former TNA world champion, even though they won't mention TNA, and all that stuff. But Jesus Christ, don't take NXT, the brand that's taking WWE to new levels.
Mm-hmm.
Don't start ignoring that, man. I mean, it's not going to look good. It's not going to be good for you. It's not going to look good on what you're trying to put over, man.
I just don't want them to fade out the history of it.
No, I could say don't. If you do, you're friggin' idiots.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there has been talk that Vince McMahon's not very bright on NXT. From what I've read, anyway, he's not very into NXT because it's Triple H's baby. Even though he was there at the Brooklyn show, I think it was.
Yes, I read that.
Yeah, I think he was there at the Brooklyn show, and I think he was there. Well, he might have been there this past on the Respect show, but he was definitely there for the Brooklyn show. I could swear I saw him backstage on that 24 show they did on the network. But like I say, don't turn NXT into TNA, and don't not mention them, man. Be proud of that shit that you've got, because at the end of the day, you get a far better wrestling program on NXT than you do on Monday Night Raw. Because the best thing about NXT is you don't get a 20-minute promo that you do 9 times out of 10 on Raw.
Yes, that's irritating. The opening of Raw every time it's a 20-minute promo.
What's your take on the booking of Raw before we go? I mean, speaking of 20-minute promos and that, do you think they should do 20-minute promos? Do you think they should reduce the time? Or do you think they should just put a match on at the beginning?
I personally would prefer a match because it is a wrestling program, but, I understand, to get the storyline over. Like, I enjoyed this past Monday's opening segment with Brock Lesnar coming out, putting over the Undertaker stuff, and then he just killed the Big Show. I enjoyed that. But when it comes to Seth Rollins coming on and just going on and 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 on, that gets irritating after a while.
Same with Triple H and Stephanie, on and on and on and on and on and on and on, and the next minute you're falling asleep. Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense. I mean, do you think it was a mistake going to 3 hours for Raw?
It's difficult for people, to want to, not change the channel after a while, because it's just when you get to that last hour, it's just It's like I just watched 2 hours of this, and now I got one more hour. It's like it's tiresome, and it depends on how they book the show too. That also is how it goes. But I think they should have just stuck with 2 hours.
Yeah, me too. I think if they want to do a 3-hour show, I think they need to go on their network and watch some Nitros.
Mm-hmm.
For what the Nitros used to be. Because, alright, even though it was falling apart in 98, Nitros used to be the 3-hour shows they did. Like Zen Goldberg once said, they had everything on their show, so maybe they want to start looking into that as well and doing that if they want to keep the 3-hour shows and don't have 20-minute fucking promos at the beginning. Because then you might get some better ratings on Raw. Because that, to me, in my opinion, that's what's killing the ratings. Just my opinion. Now, that part, well, this is for the first show, for the first interview that we have done. That about wraps it up. I'm going to wrap it up there. I will, like I say, guys, I will air this interview on the 2 episodes of the podcast. And then I'll just put the whole interview up on SoundCloud and maybe on the YouTube page as well. Mm-hmm. I don't know why I do that, but it gives something for the podcast itself, the Wrestling Matters podcast itself, and then I just put them up on the actual YouTube as one big huge
gotcha.
Interview kind of thing as well. But other than that, guys, I hope you've enjoyed this. And Michael, mm-hmm. The floor is yours. Where can my audience find you on this beautiful thing we call social media?
Oh, excellent. Well, first I will say Anthony will be putting these in the descriptions, but I will first start to say that thank you for having me on this show. I've been wanting to do this, and it was great talking to you today.
Yeah, and can I just say quickly as well, I think you've just thanked me for coming on the show there, for having you on my show. I think it's me that should be thanking you for even suggesting me to come on your show, and not only that, making it now a regular thing mm-hmm. on your S&M podcast as well, for the Wrestling Unleashed now, which you can check out on the S&M podcast as well. So you thanking me, it's me that should be thanking you, because it gets me to another level as well. It gets me out there to another level of an audience as well, and an audience I'm looking to branch out. So again, thank you for that. Continue.
You can find us at facebook.com/SNM Show Podcast. We also have a Fan Central, which is like, if the fans, want to talk about our episodes and all the audios we put up, I also put up videos on there. It's facebook.com/SNM Show Fan Central. You can check our page, which is, it's my page on SoundCloud, where all the audios of our shows, the audios that I've done with Anthony are up there. The audios I've done with my friend Mr. Kyle Ellick are up there. My interviews I've done are up there. That is soundcloud.com/MCLarkin92. And finally, I'll just plug out our Twitters here. It's twitter.com/@SMShow1. That's at capital S, capital M, show, the number 1. And my co-host, which I wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for him, because we're both equals, and we do try to put out the best content for our audience. His is at Stevie Nicks. That's capital STEVIE, capital NICS, SM, capital SM on the Twitter. And yeah, that's where everybody can reach us.
And hopefully we can maybe one time get your partner on as well, and we can maybe do something with him as well.
Yeah.
Both of you, if you want to do it. That's if he's up for it.
Yeah.
So I'm like I say, I'm down for that as well, just to get a bit more into what this S&M show is. But with that being said, Michael, thank you so much for coming on.
Nope.
We will be doing this again, guys. He's made the Wrestling Unleashed a regular thing. We're going to make this a regular thing as well. So
And
at some point, but I'm gonna have to work on that.
yeah,
a
the
little
last
bit.
thing I wanted to mention to you is I'll be in touch with you for another Wrestling Unleashed sooner rather than later, and I believe you'll be in touch with me to come on this fine show and another day as well.
I'll let you know in due time. I'll let you know in due time to come back on as well. We'll sort something out, and then, like I said, you know where to find me on the Twitter and all that.
Yep.
And I might as well plug my stuff in as well, guys. If you're having trouble finding the previous episodes of the Wrestling Unleashed show that I've done with Michael, go on to my page on SoundCloud, Wrestling_Matters_podcast, and you'll be able to find them as well, because I've reposted them onto my page as well. So be sure to check that out as well. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of this. Thank you, Michael, for coming on.
You're very welcome.
And until next time, guys, for Michael Larkin, my name is Anthony Walker, the HD at the end of D, saying see ya.
Peace out, everybody.
If you like the Wrestling Matters podcast, why not check out their Facebook page at facebook.com/WM podcast and like the page and show your support to the podcast that stands up for professional wrestling, the Wrestling Matters podcast. Wrestling Matters, wrestling fans. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the final part of the Wrestling Matters podcast, and this is the go-out part now, because I'm about to wrap everything up here, and I just want to say thank you to Michael Larkin for the Wrestling Zone and everything, and I look forward to doing another sit-down segment with you sometime down the line, and hopefully I can get back on your podcast as well with Wrestling Unleashed sometime soon as well. I'm very much looking forward to it. Now, also, I want to give a quick promotions, and I'll give a quick recommendation first, guys. Brock Lesnar's podcast with Stone Cold Steve Austin. If you haven't seen it, go on and watch it. He talks about how he grew up on the farm. He talks about his NCAA background, why he left the WWE in the first place, the clusterfuck of a match with him and Goldberg at WrestleMania 20. He talks about all that stuff as well. It's just a very interesting podcast from a guy who rarely speaks and lets his fists do the talking. So it is very intriguing, very interesting. I recommend it. Recommend go and watch it. And and he also talks about the match at Hell in a Cell as well, and what he planned on doing to The Undertaker. Also, guys, quick recommendation, quick promotion as well. Be sure for the weekly videos and the weekly audio that you hear, for example, on this podcast. If you want to see the videos, check out AJW Wrestling Matters on YouTube, the Wrestling Matters channel. It's growing slowly, but it's growing, and I can't ask for anything better than that, guys. I greatly appreciate the support you have given that channel over the past month or two, maybe a month, and it's only going to continue as well. As I'm doing this right now, you should have a Hell in a Cell review. I will play that next week on the podcast, and tomorrow will be a Raw review of tonight's Monday Night Raw, so be sure to check all that out as well as other stuff as well that I've got planned for that channel. And also, like I said at the beginning of the podcast as well, guys, be sure to check out the Games Matter channel. It's going to be a busy month for me in November. Once I get a few things out the way, hopefully everything will be cushy, and I've got a lot of plans between now and Christmas that I want to execute, and hopefully I can execute them without any issues getting in my way. But there's one thing that's not going to get in my way, guys, and that's the fact that I bring this podcast, this Wrestling Matters podcast, to you each and every week. Thank you so much for your support. You can see it on YouTube, AJW Wrestling Matters, like I say. Also, guys, check out soundcloud.com/wrestling_matters_podcast, where you can see not only hear this episode, you can hear classic episodes and previous episodes, and hell, all the episodes of the Wrestling Matters podcast as well. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Anthony Walker. Guests are coming soon on the podcast as well. And until next time, Wrestling Matters, wrestling fans, peace out.
Well, enough is enough, and it's time for a change. Professional wrestling, this is it. This is us standing up.
Yes, 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 yes!
That's 13-14.
Cena, I am the best in the world.
Cause that's the bottom line. Cause Stone Cold said so.